here to speak against the violent abuse of power we are witnessing in our city, carried out under the false label of public safety. What we are seeing is not about public safety. This is another attack on working class people, people who build the state and hold up this economy. And now they are being terrorized in our own neighborhoods. The Tennessee Highway Patrol has confirmed that this was part of a so-called safety operation conducted in partnership with the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. But let's be clear, this is state-sanctioned racial profiling.
Come on.
This was a coordinated operation that intentionally targeted South Nashville, an area with a large Hispanic immigrant population, under vague claims of traffic concerns.
Right.
This is not public safety. This is the expansion of policing and surveillance in our communities. U.S. citizens are being stopped and interrogated. This is one of many reasons why community and grassroots organizations have been advocating for months to stop the implementation of fuses and LPRs, mass surveillance system. And now everyone can see that we were right from the beginning.
Yes.
People are disappearing. We still have families who have not heard from the loved ones who have been abducted over the weekend. These stops are happening in broad daylight in the densely populated areas of South Nashville. With MNPD's knowledge, the goal here is not safety, it is fear. Businesses in the area are suffering, trust in government agencies is declining, and all of us, regardless of our immigration status, should be alarmed. What is happening here is a stripping away of our civil rights under cover of public safety and law enforcement. We demand answers. We demand accountability. We need our neighbors back. And we demand that the city says say no to racial profiling and no to separating families.
Come on. I didn't write anything. I feel like I write you guys enough. I just want to say that this is no longer theoretical and that what we're seeing is not just the implementation of something that we politically might not agree with. We've heard what is happening when people are taken and they are intentionally not being provided access to means of communication, to speak with attorneys, to discuss their status and how they want to proceed. So this is not something where the federal government gives a heads up and then PD knows about it for a few days and just waits for that to sort itself out, and that's okay. Because we have very blatantly unconstitutional activity that is being condoned.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of what did Metro know and when did they know it? And I think that's really important. But if what you know, and let's just go with what you know now, is that very explicit, blatant, unconstitutional activity is happening either at those stops or at those detention centers.
Yes.
In knowing about that, not publicizing it, is condoning it, is collaborating, is participating in unconstitutional activity.
Is Ashley Worthington.
All right, let's go.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Worthington. I live in John Parker's district, and I'm a volunteer with the Remix. Early Sunday morning, just after 1 a.m., our hotline rang. Someone had spotted ICE agents on Harding Place. Within 30 minutes, I was there. I saw a man being detained. Agents in dark vests marked with ERO all around him. As I left, I saw it again. More blue lights, more people pulled over. Tennessee Highway Patrol in front, unmarked cars behind them. The ICE agents detained people. I saw it with my own eyes. People being targeted not for breaking the law, but simply for existing while being Latino. What's even happening in the city right now, and it's terrifying. We've since learned that MNPD knew these raids were happening as early as May 1st. Did they tell the mayor? Did anyone try to stop it? We're being told that THP didn't need permission because they were using state routes, but I saw them on side streets, back roads where families live, where children sleep. This isn't just about traffic stops, it's about fear. It's about children waking up without their parents. It's about mothers calling us in the morning crying, asking if it's safe to drive their kids to school. I received that phone call yesterday morning from a mom at my son's school. She asked, can I drive down Dickerson Road? I could not give her a clear answer because I don't know. Nowhere is safe. I did tell her that at the time we hadn't received any reports about Dickerson Road, but later that day, the next morning, we had a stop on Dickerson Road, which now I can no longer tell her there's been no stops on Dickerson Road. So I'm asking you, with everything I have, what are you going to do to protect us? Because volunteers driving around South Nashville in the dark, hoping to give people a heads up, that can't be our only safety net.
Come on.
Council say with clarity and courage that Nashville will not cooperate with these raids, that our city will not become a hunting ground.
Let's go to Hannah Fletcher.
You have the power right now. Do something.
My name is Hannah Fletcher Page, and I'm a mother and I'm an educator. I live in South Nashville.
Come on.
These sweeps have left my friends and neighbors terrified. I also have received concerns. Is it safe for me to bring my kids to school? At the school I work with a lot of immigrant families, and I cannot separate them from their parents. How could we rip these families apart? These are children, some of them who are born here, but it shouldn't matter where you were born. You should have the right to live in safety. We don't have to be concerned that you would have to lock yourself in your house just so that your family could stay together. Just so that if the Department of Homeland Security is trying to fight terrorism by this, they should stop terrorizing our country. It's a violation of justice and human decency, and it's un-American.
Come on.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from Miriam A.
Hi, I'm Miriam Abu Fazli. I'm a native born Nashvilleian. I'm here to say that, I also got the call from a long-time family friend who said, in Spanish, do you have a number for a lawyer? We are not leaving the house. My kid's not leaving the house. My husband's not leaving the house. If I do leave the house, I need somebody's number. And I guess for me, similar to Ashley, I don't believe that that our only answer are the people that are the handful of people that are spending nights not sleeping, just trying to be the support to these people. I understand that many people are getting numb to this growing authoritarianism. I understand that there's a sort of acceptance to the moment that we live in, but the truth is we have to get creative and innovative and fight harder, like in ways that are more than just rhetoric. So what I'm looking for are lawsuits, and I'm looking at the unconstitutionality of not having due process. I'm looking for joining other cities and other communities that are taking those steps. I'm looking for concrete fight. I don't want for you to tell me how you feel. I'm sorry. I just want to see what we can do within the realms of what we still have as a country and as a democracy. The other thing I want to say is that these are not traffic stops. Stop calling them that. They're on checkpoints, y'all.
Yeah.
They're checkpoints, and they're not happening in Forest Hills. They're not happening in Brentwood.
Come on.
They're not happening in Green Hills. They're happening on specific streets. Those are checkpoints. Call it what it is. find the solution. I understand your hands are tied. But by the way, they will not deport the numbers they need to meet their base's demands. These are demonstrations. These are for image purposes. Our city cannot be the source of their demonstration.
Hi, my name is Trini Thule. I live in District 6. Clay Cap is my representative. On Monday, the mayor said Nashville is strongest when we look out for one another. What's clear today is that people who do not share our values of safety and community have the authority to cause deep community harm. Their approach is not our understanding of what a Nashville for all of us looks like, and we're grateful to our community partners who make all of our residents feel welcome. What struck me is how similar the mayor's view of ICE is to far too many Nashvillians' view of Metro Nashville Police. Sunday and Monday provided ample proof that very few people trust that MNPD was not involved, and trust in the mayor is beginning to erode. Last year, the Fraternal Order of Police endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right,
The national headquarters of the FOP is in Nashville.
right.
The national chapter of the FOP has nearly 2,000 members. The Metro Nashville Police Department is budgeted for 1,658 officers. When I see a large group of police, I see a Trump rally in uniform. One could infer that what happened this weekend was exactly what Nashville's police union endorsed and voted for. In 2018, 134,000 of us, including myself, voted for community oversight. In 2023, 72,000 of us voted for Freddie O'Connor. A grand jury of our peers has made clear that they also do not trust MNPD and recommended a special prosecutor to investigate the whistleblower complaint. I'd rather have a mayor that's willing to uphold the Constitution by defying this administration than one that defends the very people that endorse this.
Next speaker is Lane Myers.
Hello, my name is Lee Myers. I live in South Nashville and I'm a graduate of Belmont University College of Law. The raids happened in proximity to my neighborhood. I emailed Councilperson Evans, but I'm here to express my concerns. I'm extremely concerned about the shifting accounts from Metro government and ICE. In a memo emailed to the Tennessee Lookout, ICE was planning to coordinate with, and I quote, local law enforcement. Meanwhile, Mayor O'Connell and Legal Director Dietz have gave inconsistent testimony about the nature of Metro's involvement. Eyewitness accounts identified Metro police vehicles at the DH office before the events that transpired Sunday afternoon. Additionally, just today, Director Dietz released a timeline that indicated that MNPD knew THP and ICE operations would happen 2 days prior on May 1st. These accounts are, to put it mildly, incredibly frustrating. The people and immigrant community of South Nashville deserve a straight answer about how much Metro knew and what actions did it take over the past few days. More distressing is the pretextual basis and proffered narratives of THP stops. THP claims to have stopped 150 people for violating traffic laws on Nolensville Pike. Anyone who lives near that corridor knows that that number is preposterous given the hours they conducted that operation. Even on that level, we know that at least one, very likely more, of the people that were detained and shipped to Louisiana have every right to be in this country.
Yeah.
And they have pending immigration court dates. I will not mince words here. What THP and ICE did is a direct violation of the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and 14th Amendments of our national constitution. In this country, the right to caution, protecting against future criminal proceedings, and freedom from unlawful searches and seizures. Finally, I want to conclude that regardless of one's immigration status and the circumstances that brought them into this country, You deserve to be here. So I'm asking Metro to do everything conceivable to get the names of those detained and to bring them home.
Okay, I'm gonna cry because this is a time for every one of us to be in tears. This is a city where people, indigenous people, were marched out of this city, out of this community, somewhere else. Their people did not know, their neighbors did not know where they're going, right? African American people in this community who were connected and built this community were taken away. They were enslaved. They were hung. This is our legacy in this city. For every cisgender white person that's in the Metro Council, for our mayor, this is a time for us to have courage. I do not want my grandchildren reading about the efforts that were made. This is not efforts that were made. This is you all stopping those cars. Councilperson Sepulveda, I watched you this morning on live feed. Follow more detainment, more scooping up of people. We have to put our bodies in the way. I don't give an F. I'm an old lady in my 70s. You can lock me up, but I do not want my neighbors taken away and to continue a legacy in this city that we say it is not us. And I will tell you, Jewish people, people who are LGBTQI+, people know what it's like in their bones to be persecuted against. But it is us as white cisgender people that need to absolutely put our bodies right now in the record. Because we are a political party. It's a question of our people. This is our city. We must do everything we can. So go and start driving your cars around all night and watching what's going on. And I will say about MNPD, you do not deserve any of our trust. No. Stand with your city, stand with your people, and fight for the F is the fight in you.
That's hard to follow. Sorry. My name's Edward Howard. I live in District 22. I come as an ESL teacher, I'm an ESL district administrator. One of the things, and I also am a educational researcher in these areas. And one of the things when I was a district administrator is you do not let people walk away without something to take home with them. So Metro needs to review policy and practice with regards to entering by state and federal actors at locations DHS once considered sensitive locations, where raids and pickups would not occur due to their disruptive nature to the community. That designation has been rescinded by the presidential administration at DHS in February. These locations include schools, that is pre-K through post-secondary, churches, hospitals, sites for funerals, weddings, and other religious ceremonies, sites of public events, parades, marches, things that we celebrate around the city. Metro and its bodies need to review policy and practice ensuring both the safety and privacy of its residents. Now, coming from education, on the matter of schools, I've reached out to members of the school board and I have been informed that operational policy and practice that they passed going for district-run schools does not apply to charter schools. This is a vulnerability. So because they have the independence for operations and this, this is furthermore, if many, if not most charter schools do not provide transportation to students, parents often pick them up. This is another vulnerability. If council members have charter schools in their districts, they should reach out to them, to the leadership, to ensure that safety and students of families. Lastly, as it is budget season, Metro needs to increase dedicated funding for legal aid as it has and is provided in the past in partners such as Turk and Tennessee Justice for Our Neighbors, as they did in 2022, and they need to go beyond that. Thank you.
you, Mr. Howard.
I said it last night, I'll say it again. This was disgusting. All law enforcement in this colony are harmed by products of genocide and enslavement. Let us remember that. And on that note, I yield my time.
Thank you, Patrick.
I'm Patrick Riley. I live in District 18. I'm here with some of my colleagues from Vanderbilt Graduate Workers United. And I'm a historian of policing. I just want to say that the history of policing is filled with dubious invocations of traffic safety. And I want to note briefly that, you know, as our neighbors in South Nashville are being terrorized, this also has a ripple effect to every, you know, international worker on Vanderbilt's campus. You know, there are colleagues of ours across the campus who, you know, used to be vibrant participants and contributors to our campus life, to improving the quality of the research and education environment at Vanderbilt, and they've been terrified by the authoritarian immigration enforcement that we've seen around the country. And I just want to say, if you know, if you're not an enemy of this kind of authoritarianism, you're abetting it.
Yes.
Everyone here is an enemy of what this administration is doing to our communities. And so if you're not ready to be an enemy, you should get prepared. Thank you.
Luis Mata.
Good afternoon. My name is Luis Mata. I'm the Government Relations Manager with the Tennessee Immigrant Refugee Rights Coalition. I work in District 28. And thank you all for calling this meeting and the opportunity to speak. Since the early hours of May 4th, when advocates and organizers in Nashville confirmed a coordinated overnight immigration enforcement operation between the Tennessee Highway Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, we have received 761 phone calls, with 75% of the calls being about this enforcement activity. And our organizers have been speaking with the affected families nonstop to assist in locating loved ones, connecting them to the resources to meet their needs, and understanding the injustices that their loved ones faced. This atrocity is the direct result of years of hateful anti-immigrant federal policies, the recent laws passed by our state legislature to create an Office of Immigration Enforcement to facilitate collaboration between ICE and law enforcement agencies, as well as surveillance infrastructure meant to criminalize and separate our neighbors. These policies and actions are unconscionable acts of cruelty and abuse of power from ICE collaborating with state law enforcement that will have a devastating impact on families throughout Nashville and beyond. Yep. We know from experience that actions of large scale, indiscriminate immigration enforcement have ripple effects throughout families and communities as breadwinners lose jobs, children lose parents, and businesses lose owners. We join the demand for transparency from all levels of law enforcement on the nature and scope of this operation as we fight to protect the rights of all who live and work in our community, regardless of their immigration status. And we urge our local elected officials to push our state elected officials to stop these cruel attacks on communities.
There was somebody higher up on the list, Tristan called, who I believe's name was missed.
Oh, I apologize, let me double. Yes, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And we'll go back up and collect Tristan call, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. My name is Dr. Tristan Call. I'm a proud volunteer of the Remix. I've spent 3 of the last 4 nights on the ground monitoring ICE collaboration with police on Nashville streets and interviewing witnesses. I interviewed 2 people detained by ICE early Sunday morning who said they were originally pulled over by MNPD, apparently for speeding, which they weren't, and then promptly handed over to ICE, who detained them. They fear for their safety, and we are continuing to investigate, but have not been able to independently verify how those stops happened. They clearly identified the people who stopped them as wearing MNPD-style uniforms and driving a white car with blue Metro lettering. If it wasn't Metro, it may be worth investigating whether any ICE vehicles attempted to mimic MNPD markings. I also interviewed an eyewitness who saw a big group car meeting of law enforcement patrols in a parking lot on Nolensville Road around 1 a.m. Sunday morning. The witness saw unmarked ICE vehicles, Tennessee Highway Patrol SUVs, and 2 marked MNPD patrol cars. His description is that the cars circled up, officers talked to each other, and that during the meeting, at least some officers started harassing immigrant-looking pedestrians who were on foot, asking if they had papers. I bring this to the committee not because we think MNPD is to blame for the outrageous racial profiling and cruel hunting of our neighbors each night since Saturday, but because anyone who has been around police knows officers talk to each other, both at the street level and at the office level. Metro has been collaborating with ICE for decades, primarily through DCSO, which has handed thousands of people over to ICE over the last few years and housed detainees for ICE through a money-making contract until we pressured the sheriff to drop that contract a few years ago. The paths for collaboration with ICE's cruel ethnic cleansing agenda have already been paved. Now we are regretting this, but building the necessary firewalls to prevent the use of Metro resources is methodical and requires constant renewal and vigilance. It is crucial for MNPD to do a full, transparent investigation, asking every officer on the street or dispatch or administration since Saturday night what contact, if any, they have had with ICE or THP during those operations, and report transparently to the public what occurred. Thank you to the council members who were there with us on Sunday. Mayor Freddie O'Connell, I wish you had responded to our request to be there and present with us on Sunday.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Frensley. I was born in Nashville. I'm a current resident. I've also been teaching in Metro Nashville Public Schools since 1993. When I was 4 years old, my family moved to New York and I returned to Nashville to attend college. When I returned, I met strangers who spoke to me and were genuinely interested in me, and I thought, this has got to be fake. I soon realized that was not the case, because what I discovered was that we were a community of neighbors. And in a way, Nashvillians are an extended family, but that was all shattered on Sunday. My students, including those born in the United States, are terrified. They are terrified to go to school. Those who do go to school are shaking, literally, physically quaking in their seats. They're worried about themselves. They're worried about their friends. They're worried about their family members. They're worried about their teachers. We already feel unsafe at school. We've had 2 school shootings in the last 3 years. Our governor has done away with the summer food funding that we've relied on for many years. The tax administration tax cuts are reducing SNAP from $2 per person per meal to 67 cents per person per meal. We've just finished high stakes testing. We are moving into exams. This is a very stressful time and our students are feeling less safe than ever. As a historian, I can tell you that what happened Sunday is a form of political violence. It is in no way something that will help us create a better future. Our kids are the future of our great country. People who are unwilling to prioritize the safety of our children should not be in leadership positions. We need to do everything we can to prioritize the safety of our children, and that includes prioritizing the safety of the adults who care for them.
It looks like it could be Sabrina or Sabina. Sabina.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sabina Mohideen. I'm the Executive Director of the American Muslim Advisory Council. I live in District 25, but a lot of the Muslim community lives in South Nashville. This is our home. This is where we live, where we work, where we go shopping, where we worship. South Nashville, along Nolensville Road, Murfreesboro Pike. You have the largest Kurdish community. You have one of the largest Coptic Egyptian communities. We're very diverse. And I hear all the time, Nashville's celebrating our diversity. What does it mean to celebrate our diversity and not keep us safe? Worried about getting out of the house and traveling streets that is home. You know what it means to feel like it's home? When you're driving in a place that's familiar, you go around, you're like, this is my shop. I know this street. When you go to someplace unfamiliar, you feel a little uneasy, but home is where you feel at ease, where you feel safe. We don't feel safe. Nobody. And don't think it's just about people who might not have the proper documentation. It is all of our community that is not feeling safe, whether you're a citizen or you're not. At this moment, I myself was born and raised in Nashville. I don't feel so confident that I am not going to be stopped over for some flimsy traffic violation reason. Let that sink in. How many of you have to think about that? Think about it. What is our community doing? How are we holding MNPD accountable? How are we holding our government accountable? We need to be safe. We need to see you value our safety.
Thank you, everybody who contributed. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And so with that, we're gonna proceed with our agenda. And the first person that we're gonna hear from is Director Wally Dietz from Metro Legal. And so let me make sure I have the microphones turned on here to start. Okay. You have to hit the button down there. You know how to do that.
Is this on? Yes. Okay. The events of the weekend were heartbreaking and objectionable on so many levels. Fundamental decency was violated. People were terrified. I hear you.
It hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped.
Everyone, please let him continue. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there a way to get the display screens to show
what's being said by the closed caption. I don't think, but we have to.
So many of you, have contacted me. Many members of this council have contacted me. And starting on Sunday, I started trying to find out what happened in our community, what, Metro's role was, if anything, and the facts that, I found I had put into a statement, which I had, sent to council members and to members of the media. I have come to these conclusions. The events overnight, Saturday night, early Sunday morning, caught Metro by surprise.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Please, look, I listened to each one of you.
Oh, get mad. Just
I'll be
get
very
mad.
glad to give you my attention and listen to each one of you. I would ask that you give me the same courtesy. There's not a single person who expected that to happen, who works for Metro. The Tennessee Highway Patrol confirmed that the Metro National Police Department was not involved in their coordinated activities with Tennessee Highway Patrol. I found no evidence at all that contradicts that. In fact, I believe, as we sit here today, I can say with a lot of confidence that Metro National Police Department was not involved in those activities. There were videos. Some of you sent me a video on Monday morning. It circulated widely, and it took a few hours to track it down, but that was completely debunked. And if you have evidence, if you can get pictures or videos that contradict what I'm saying, I encourage you to send them to me.
Y'all get the evidence. You're the director of law. We shouldn't have to have a birth.
Let's try and play.
That's right. That's right.
I have done what I can do to find out what happened. I have put out a statement. I have published 2 phone calls that are relevant to this discussion. I'm being 100% transparent. And so I'm here to say that this is the sequence of events that I have discovered. On Thursday, May 1st, a gentleman identifying himself as Inspector Jackson Sanders from the Federal Protective Service of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security called our Emergency Communications Center. Federal Protective Service is the security function that protects federal facilities. They protect the federal courthouse. They protect every federal facility. That is their job. The caller requested extra police patrol at Nashville's ICE facility on Sunday on Brick Church Park. He told the dispatcher that there would be operations throughout the weekend, and there was a concern about families coming to the ICE facility on Sunday. The dispatcher, you're going to listen to this call in just a few minutes, so you can hear it with your own ears. The dispatcher tried very carefully to write down the information. You can draw your own conclusions. But the person at the communications department took the information and put it into a queue. When there are calls for extra patrols, and these calls come in, there's an avalanche of these calls. Director Martini can speak to that himself. When these calls come in, they are put into a queue. And so the dispatcher followed policy and protocol and put it into the queue so it would pop up on Sunday morning for dispatcher to make the call to MNPD on Sunday morning. And then MNPD would receive the request for extra patrol. The call was scheduled to go out at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And as we know, overnight, Saturday night and Sunday morning, THP and ICE conducted their joint operation. There's now actually confusing information about how many stops. The THP said 150 stops on Sunday. There was a statement that THP released in response to some of our Davidson County delegation that referenced 350 stops. I will be following up with them to try to find out exactly how many stops there were in Nashville overnight, Saturday night, and Sunday morning. So then next, on Sunday morning, the request popped up on the dispatcher screen, and at 10:04, the request, 10:04 a.m. on Sunday, May 4th, the request was sent about the extra patrol at 501 Brick Church Park Drive, and it was sent to the North Precinct Sergeant Megan Lemon and North Precinct Officer Corey Bean at 10:04 a.m. on Sunday. That was the first notice Metro Nashville Police had of any official communication about the activities that had already transpired. And the reads, request extra patrol for every hour on Sunday. Concerned there will be retaliate. There were from family members on Sunday due to detaining subjects. So then, Deputy Chief, Assistant Chief Gilder will speak to this. The sergeant and the officer thought that call was unusual, and so they drove to the ICE field office at 501 Brick Church Pike and went in and asked what was going on. At the same time that this is happening, people are beginning to get calls and text messages about the ICE activity from overnight. It was a very confusing situation late morning on Sunday and through part of the day, just trying to figure out exactly what had happened. After inquiring what the call was about, the sergeant and officer left the facility. The officer answered unrelated calls Sunday morning before returning to the ICE field office to do an extra patrol. He drove around to the backside of the property, and then he saw that the driveway was blocked by people who were there. The officer made his way through carefully, and the MNPD personnel who had responded left the ICE facility. To ensure public safety, the officers stayed in the area, that they were replaced and relieved by crews from the Tennessee Highway Patrol. So after reviewing the calls, talking with the departments and reviewing publicity from THP and ICE, there's simply no evidence that I can find to suggest that MNPD was involved in any way in this joint operation. MNPD routinely receives requests for extra patrols for a variety of reasons and responds to the extent resources are available. What is extremely alarming is that I still cannot find out who was arrested and who was detained. I went to Tennessee Highway Patrol. I've asked them. I got some generic information today. It was a copy of the message that THP sent to the Democratic legislative delegation. They had some generic information, but it was somewhat contradictory and very confusing. U.S. Department of Homeland Security claims that they made arrests in conjunction with criminal activity. Well, if that's so, then they should tell us exactly who and exactly what the charges are. Because they are refusing to do that. And until we see that evidence, frankly, I'm going to have a difficult time believing it. So I sent my letter to the Tennessee Highway Patrol earlier today. I sent a letter to the field office on Brick Church, Park Drive to the New Orleans Regional ICE office and to ICE leadership in Washington, DC, explaining, what we've been told by the Highway Patrol, about the traffic stops and the fact that THP said they made, quote, a few arrests. So I say two things can be true. This is what I told us. First, the metropolitan government fully supports efforts to arrest and charge violent offenders so they can have first their day in court, then face possible punishment, and then face possible deportation if that is what the law calls for. Second, while my office cannot and does not represent any individual on behalf of the mayor and many Nashville elected officials, I have said that the metropolitan government stands behind advocates who are calling for full due process rights, and that includes the right to counsel. I'm hearing alarming stories about what's happening with the people who are detained and whether or not they are even provided an opportunity to talk to a lawyer or talk to a lawyer long enough to have a real conversation. These concerns are there. I will continue to raise them with ICE until I get some answers from them, and I am asking them to expedite their responses and give me the names of the people who have been arrested, the names of the people who have been detained, and where they are. So that is what I am trying to do on behalf of the metropolitan government.
What about jurisdiction?
Thank you, Director Dietz. We're gonna hear the calls in just a minute, but before we do that, we're gonna hear from Deputy Chief Gilder from MNPD. I think you gotta turn on that.
Sure. I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. I want to reiterate that the MNPD had no knowledge of or participation in the ICE operation that took place last weekend. As Director Dietz has stated, the first information related to this came at 10:04 a.m. Sunday dispatch to a North Precinct sergeant and an officer concerning an extra patrol at the ICE facility. Requests for extra patrol are common. The information relayed by the dispatcher was a bit unusual, prompting the sergeant and officer to go by the facility to see what the call was about. They nor anyone else in the police department had no knowledge of what had occurred the night before. We've worked very hard in the police department to build trust and relationships throughout Nashville's diverse community. One of Chief Drake's pillars is community engagement. As many of you know, we have an elder protector officer, Mario Diaz.
Who told people not to know their rights?
Is to work.
Who told people not to know their rights? Your officers were out there. Those ICE agents were conducting the rights, and yet still you did nothing. You knew. You knew. We asked you for protocol. We asked you for policy. We asked you for those things. We told you what was going to happen, and yet you still did nothing and let it happen. And you said it was viable.
Ask our attendee to leave, please.
Did he tell the truth? Oh, maybe the officer can tell the truth. You were confused. You were confused. We were not confused.
Cowards!
Thank you, Deputy Chief, if you could continue, please.
Yes, ma'am. Officer Diaz's job every day is to work closely with the Latino community, let them know that we deeply value their partnership and the safety of the individual neighborhoods and all of Nashville. Since this weekend, Mario's reiterated that the MNPD was not involved in the ICE operation. We know well that our success depends on that support. We want to send a message that the MNPD is here to help enhance their safety. In fact, crime is down in Nashville because of help from Nashville's residents. I want to be very clear. Immigration status is irrelevant to the work the MNPD does. We rely on everyone, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, birthplace, or immigration status, to call us when they need help and report crime.
You're right.
The MNPD, in its charter, provides the duty is provided the duty of preservation of the peace, prevention and detection of crime, apprehension of
No
criminals,
one has got.
protection of personal and property rights, and enforcement of laws of the state of Tennessee and ordinances of the metropolitan government. And we cannot selectively choose which call for service to respond to, which First Amendment activity to protect, or allow public safety to be compromised. I would like to share that some information regarding immigration and MNPD's role in that, or lack thereof, is provided on our website. And I would encourage you to go there. There are questions and answer section. Things such as how does the MNPD cooperate with ICE? Does the MNPD make immigration notices to ICE? Does immigration status impact enforcement law? And several others. And I would encourage you to go there and review those questions and answers if you have questions about those topics.
So we'll get into questions from members here in just a minute, but we're gonna hear the calls. And so Director Martini is gonna oversee playing them. And then he'll share any context or feedback that he has.
The first is that original call referenced on May 1st.
The original call on May 1st.
Thursday, 2025, 11:47 and 53 seconds.
Hi, this is Inspector Sanders. I work for Homeland Security. The reason why I'm calling, I was looking to set up extra patrols at an address off of Reunión Park.
Okay.
I don't know the exact precinct. It might be north or Madison.
I think that's usually north, but look at the address.
It's 501 Bridge Church Park. It's our immigration and customs enforcement facility.
Okay, so 501 Bridge Church Park Drive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that north?
Mm,
There's supposed to be border right there, so I wasn't sure.
It is. It's gonna be north, that's what I like, our north 30. Give me 1 second. I'm 20. Sorry, I'm working on
Oh, you're fine.
radio at the same time. Okay.
Yep, I get it. You're all better.
Extra patrol. And you said that this is the Culture and Immigration Office?
It's the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Office, ICE.
Sorry.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And they are doing operations throughout the weekend and they're concerned of the families.
That's all you do! You fucking do!
Similarly, if we get set up an extra control maybe 24 hours, from 0 to 900 to 2100 hours on Sunday, that'd be great. And then I can provide my phone number, that up there.
Wally, this is on you!
Better if we just put you with that Madison sergeant or North sergeant, that way they could just tell their guys. Rather than us having to try to set it up for every hour.
Okay. And who are the, I used to work back there, I used to work nowhere, I was here, it's so awesome.
Oh, Sunday, okay.
Yeah.
Let me get this one out. I'm gonna send it up at, let me go 10. Yeah, because I'm not gonna, everybody will. Be giving us what is. 1 second, let me get this first one scheduled. No, oh, this. Okay, we've got that one scheduled. So we got Megan Hoffman, medical sergeant, Lessinger. Yeah, who else do we got? Polk, you know, Polk.
I know I've been, if you go, what about BB Town?
Oh, I can't say one thing. Haggard is there. I know he's been here for a while.
Sorry.
Haggard, H-A-Z-Z-A-R-D, David.
Subpoena
The
every
lieutenant
officer.
is tighter, I don't know if you know.
I know, yeah, I did, not necessarily on the commercial ones, but.
Okay, you just
Yeah, you're going, you're high up there for a minute too, so, yeah. It's more important than. The details, do they work up on this, or are they off?
Yes, they don't check in until 3. Yes, you know, 3 now, yeah.
I'll go get by,
You're not teaching,
Standard.
there, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jackson.
He provided his phone number here.
And, like, I was working in Jackson, I was at 30. The Department of Homeland Security. So they get to a certain point, we'll have to respond, but, if we just have to monitor, just make sure nothing's getting hurt, that'd be great. And all of us know what they show us, it's just something that they might be, they're just trying to do, but. So, anger. Family.
So you know. Okay, I'll just let my number to the that dispatcher, so we'll have to give you a call shortly, okay?
All I'm hearing is y'all knew and damn well did nothing. Not a damn thing. You knew. That is what it is. I'm sorry. That is what that
Radio dispatch traffic that Sunday morning advising the call to Metro Nashville police officers in that area.
We're informed. They told y'all.
We
were notified.
Listen.
25, 10, 0, 4, and 33 seconds.
Heads up that we have an patrol at 501 Brick Church Park Drive at Integrated Customs Enforcement. Homeland Security is actually requesting it patrol just every hour on Sunday. Concerned there will be retaliation from family members seeking.
There it is. There it is.
That's all you care about. Family members kidnapped.
Oh my.
They should be protected.
If you can just bring me out the 41, I didn't get that extra.
I'll send it here to get it slightly off this, so just show up.
Thank you for playing those. But just to give everybody context, like this afternoon was the first time any council member had heard any of this information, so it was a lot to process.
We were saying
So,
this.
So you lied to us.
let Dr. or Director Steve Martini, provide any comments that he'd like to related to the calls.
Sure. First and foremost, I'm hearing exactly the concerns and the frustration voiced this evening. Yes, first and foremost, I'm hearing and echo the sentiments that are expressed this evening. The story of the Venezuelan woman whose husband got off work and coming home
didn't come home and she can't find him is gut wrenching. It's not what
Dozens.
absolutely right. That story is what I'm familiar with, but right, there's dozens and dozens. The Department of Emergency Communications exists to send help to people who ask for it. The end. Not
Oh my God, that
based on race status or age or gender or insurance status or housing status or any of those things. Anybody who needs help gets help, period. The end. So I want to make sure that first and foremost, if there's somebody in a community that's feeling marginalized, that's feeling not seen, that they trust if they need help tonight, they can call. If their purpose is to sit and help in that moment, I would hate to think there's somebody in a dangerous situation and they don't reach out for the extra patrol call. We handle literally tens of thousands of these calls. We've handled 33,000 calls of this nature type since January of 2024. In that time, they're very routine. Somebody calls and says, I would like additional police presence in my space for whatever reason. We take the information, we put it in the dispatch system, and advise that to the officers to enforce as they choose, whether it's partner with another agency, like in this situation, to say Tennessee Highway Patrol was a better solution for this location, whatever that was. Our job is to take that information and relay it to the field response partners for what they are looking for. This is uncharted territory for us for sure.
It's ice.
In Tennessee, I have not trained for or responded to a mass roundup of citizens. We don't prepare for this. Might look like, but I just wanted to reinforce that we're here to help all languages. We've got solutions that process 40 plus languages, 180 plus if we're texting. If you need help, even if you don't speak English, you can call and get that help from her.
Thank you, Director Martini. But we're gonna start taking questions from members and I've on a different caucus. I'm gonna be starting with them and then I'll get other members in the queue. But the very first question that I want to ask Director Dean, since obviously we are really struggling with people who have been disappeared from our community.
Yes.
What steps other than writing letters are we going to take?
Bring them home! 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 Bring them home!
I'd like to hear from
Bring them home!
please. Thank you.
Let me say this, we are doing the things that we have the authority and the power to do. We are asking for documents. We are entitled to these documents. They should be public records. And if necessary, I will file the FOIA request with ICE. I will not rest until we know the names of the people. Names of the people detained, what they were being detained for, and where they are located. The government, the state government, and the federal government do not have the right to keep that information private from people from us.
Demand their release.
And I will advocate for them, and do my very best to get information and share it with all of you, every member of this council, and the public generally as quickly as I can.
When is that?
And Director Dietz, thank you. And what level of support have we gotten from, and I can very much guess the answer, but what level of support have we gotten from our members of Congress or our state?
I'll say this, I was very proud of several members of our Davidson County legislative delegation who wrote a very strong letter. State senators demanding information. They got a response from the Tennessee Highway Patrol this afternoon that was far from transparent. And raised almost as many questions as they tried to answer. I'm assuming they will do that. And I have been in touch with several members of the Davidson County delegation. They are very focused on it.
0 hours.
I have not had any communications with any U.S. representative. The district where this happened, and Nobles, is the. Expressed any concern at all about not having over the weekend. And I know, the mayor is trying to make connections with the state level, and the federal level, to try to get some support and some answers. But I have not been involved in those communities.
I understand that, tomorrow Senator Cory Booker is gonna be in Nashville, and so are you aware if there's any kind of, conversation about him potentially meeting with Senator Booker while he's here?
I believe, he plans to meet with, Senator Booker.
Thank you.
I'm almost certain, that was a conversation I had with him last night.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna start with, Pro Tem Sepulveda. Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to everyone who spoke today, sent in, email. All of that is on our desk, and, to those who made the trip out here, I know it's 4 o'clock, well, it was 4 o'clock, people had work, people have kids, and, so I do wanna acknowledge the sacrifice in, coming, and I do wanna thank the chair for agreeing to, this special call to meeting. I, along with my colleagues on the Immigrant Caucus, have divided up our tasks for tonight. We ended up being the neighborhood watch last night after a council meeting. The only neighborhood watch I approve of, honestly. And we drove around after receiving reports of ICE agents along Murfreesboro Pike, and I do want to acknowledge the Remix for their work on, Throughout this time, there have been several community members who have submitted photos and videos. And I want to go through them right now and ask MNPD a couple of questions. So Chair, is it possible to get a couple of those up? I think
Pro Tem, I think that there is, some question about the ones that you wanted to show and whether
Yes.
they're downloaded. Because I don't know that they are.
They're on the drive. You can play them from the drive IT. Is that possible? I have the names of the ones I want played. There's 4 I would like highlighted.
Let me ask you a question. So while, Eleanor is taking a look at that, if there is any kind of, challenge with getting them pulled up, would you rather me move to the next member of the caucus or come back or wait?
That would work, Chair.
Okay.
So I guess
If you could, would you mind telling her which ones you're interested in?
the first one would be 3C 7E videos. 3C 7E 6B21. So it's a short video. If you could play it one more time. Right, this is a long bell ring. The next one, can you play 4A 75 EC or CC? I couldn't. Right. 4A 75.
No. No. I'm gonna give you a warning for speeding, okay? What is the, okay. For here. You have any questions for me? No. I'll range the line to the market out.
All right, and the last one for this bunch would be 26630. And I have one more video, but I want to go to the questions and the reason that I had those 3 specific videos played first, and it goes to jurisdiction. So the last one that was played is an apartment complex in my district in which several doors were being knocked. It wasn't just one specific person they were looking for, they were knocking multiple doors, and then they went into the neighborhoods knocking homes. And that occurred as well yesterday in Councilmember Nash and Councilmember Rutherford's district. The first video was from Bell Road. And then the second one is a stop that they made. My question is, in regards to jurisdiction, is Tennessee Highway Patrol required to inform MNPD and receive permission from MNPD if they are conducting what they call traffic stops in our streets? Nolensville Pike belongs to the state, but there were stops that were being made on Back Road, Spell Road, Harding. These belong to us.
So for the question about jurisdiction and as far as legally where the THP is allowed to engage in traffic enforcement activities, I would have to defer to Director Deeds because I just simply don't have the answer to that. What I can tell you is a matter of practice, I'm not familiar with the THP ever contacting us to advise us that they were going to engage in traffic enforcement regardless of the street location.
Thank you, council member. The state law makes it clear that THP has enforcement authority on state roads. And that includes federal highways where the state maintains. But it also includes Nolensville Pike is a U.S. highway that's covered by that provision. Harding Place, Harding Pike is also a state route. So on those streets, they have absolutely the right to do it. We are looking into the issue because we have also heard that they were off of the main roads and onto some side roads. And I've been trying to look at the law, but frankly, I just have not had enough time. The state law was amended to give THP specific authority to work with immigration enforcement officers. So they have that authority, and whether that overlaps to give them the right to be on metro streets, I simply don't know the answer, but I will get to the bottom of that and let you know.
Thank you, Director Deeds. My understanding is that Tennessee Highway Patrol has still not officially opted into that program. So what they would be doing would be illegal. Them being on our streets would be illegal. I received a report right before I walked into the chambers that they were driving around one of my elementary schools in my district, and then being in that video, it's private property. I have also been informed that they have been staging on some private property belonging to Metro. So I would say, and we need to figure out why MNPD isn't enforcing their jurisdiction. And I guess my next question is, where Chief Drake is.
Yeah.
Where is he?
As the council liaison, and this being a special call council meeting, I came to represent the Metro Police Department.
If we could get an answer as to if MNPD will be enforcing their jurisdiction over our roads, I think that would be important. Director Deeds, Chair Evans. My next question is in regards to tinted windows. I responded to a call in my district in which I filmed ICE agents taking away 2 of our community members. All of their windows were tinted. You cannot see inside of them at all. Is having tinted windows at that level illegal here in Davidson County?
Question to be Director Deeds, I'm sorry.
Either or.
There is a window tint law in the state of Tennessee that allocates the percentage that a tint may be darkened to. You have to test that in order to determine the percentage. And then I also know there are exceptions for law enforcement vehicles as well.
Would federal agents be exempt from this?
Well, like I said, there has been an exemption within the statute for law enforcement vehicles. It's been minutes since I've reviewed the statute. I wasn't prepared to answer questions about it tonight. So that's about the best I can tell you at this point. Sorry.
Director, if you could get that answer to us, and then depending on that, if we could get an MNPD to start enforcing and pulling over the ICE agents who are terrorizing our community. There are 3 specific consulates. There are 4 consulates. The Mexican consulate reached out to ICE agencies in which they were told that around 150 stops were made. They were informed that around 50 of them were Mexican nationals, and they have received that information. The Guatemalan consulate has reached out to ICE agencies and still have not received the names of their nationals. And I don't know what the Salvadorian consulate is doing here. So I would encourage you all to reach out to the consulates, because out of all of them, only 1 person was not Latino that was pulled over and taken. My next question is regarding El Protector program. When I was first elected, I was contacted by then the mix in regards to El Protector, who was Luis Lopez at that time, in which there was some trouble, and I organized a meeting. And I saw today a post from his Facebook account responding to someone saying civil crime is crime. If you are here illegally, it is time to consider going back where you came from.
Wow.
My question is, for El Protector program, how often is it evaluated, and who is in charge of appointing that officer?
We're gonna recognize Commander Laura. I'll just make sure I can turn on present.
Good afternoon. So the El Protector program, it's been around many, many years, and throughout the years, we've had several different ones. What happens is, as some of those, I was El Protector, 2000, I think 10 or 11, and I was there for a couple of years. And then as time goes on, as officers move to different assignments, they will assign a new El Protector, somebody who's wants to work with the community, the Hispanic community, somebody who is well versed in be able to speak Spanish and is able to communicate with the Latino community. And so we get, he's been there for probably a year or two, a couple of years, I believe. So again, it's pointed by, the chief ultimately will say, will accept it or not, but really it's one of those where myself, I've been involved in a lot of those selections to make sure that it's somebody that, again, can speak Spanish, that understands the language, understands the culture, and is a person that we believe that will be able to communicate and connect with communities here in Nashville. What is your specific question on?
How often is the officer evaluated?
So the evaluation process is really, we get a lot of information from the communities that they deal with. I can tell you, when I was working as a protector, and even now, I work with him, with Mario on specific, communication that we have. A lot of the things that we get as feedback is from the community members, the organization that we work with. Places like Casa de Fran, places like Plaza Mariachi, some of the media outlets that we utilize, that we talk to and we work with, and then just other organizations. We talk to community members that are involved with all different types of meetings that he attends. I attend some of the meetings he's at, and so it's one of those where we look at the need, and then we see what he's offering to the public and offering to the community. So he's always evaluated, and if we believe that, hey, you know what, this time he's probably the right person, then we will make sure that that's addressed and find somebody else. But again, you got to understand it's difficult to find somebody that wants to, that has that desire to be in the public eye, because that position is somebody that's in the public eye, and not everybody wants to be in the public eye, especially somebody who is in the Latino community and the police department that may not speak the language well, things like that. So we are constantly evaluating, always evaluating, but until we see something that concerns us, we're not allowed to continue doing the work that he's doing.
Can we receive a copy of his last evaluation?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, all officers are evaluated on an annual basis, and to my knowledge, those are public record. So we can share that.
Thank you. Going back to the video, the last video to play. Will be IMG_9552.
Wow.
Director Gilder, would you be able to speak to what we are seeing in that video?
So I'm not positive, but I believe that is the video that was sent to us where there was concern that it may be related to the immigration enforcement, and that the video was actually an operation by our vehicle crimes division that was taking a known burglary suspect into custody who is not an immigrant, was not related to that enforcement action at all.
The information I have, council member, and that was the video I referenced earlier today, is that, it was a stolen vehicle. The driver had 2 outstanding felony warrants. The video was taken, near Kazazova, and, on Rosedale and Nolensville Road. And that the person who was taken into custody was was a white male. Totally unrelated to the crackdown overnight on Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Can we get the police report sent to us?
Sure.
I would like to.
Chair, those are my questions for now, and I'll let my colleagues on the immigrant caucus go.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we'll recognize Councilmember at Large Lopez Sora. For the refugees.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for calling the meeting, and thanks to everyone that came on this floor. I want to echo Sandra's call about the remix and all the people that put their bodies on the ground, taking these photos and videos to send to us.
Thanks to those that are also helping the families with the needs as well as legal representation. What happened last weekend was on Nigeria. Sandra talked about, we decided on what all of us were gonna ask. I put out a video on Monday talking about how horrific this is. I also said there were allegations that law enforcement was involved. But I was short of saying that we did anything wrong. I said we're gonna find out at this meeting how much we knew and when we knew it. I typically don't, and I had, people calling me, the remix was calling me, sending me all these images, and I was like, no, we will give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. I will not make any comment until after this meeting. I typically don't write my speech, but today I thought this was so important. I started writing, and I was talking about the constitutional rights of our community, and my question, a whole list of questions about when did MNPD know, what did law enforcement know, and all of that. 20 minutes before I left my house, I got a text about the dispatch call. And let me tell you, as a citizen, I am shocked, I am mad, I am betrayed.
Come on.
Somebody that feels like we have to continue to build trust in the community. That eroded all those trusts. I know for some of us, we can separate MNPD and DEC, and we can play with words any way that we want to. The fact was somebody knew me first. The fact was all the communication that we've had, even in the mayor's address and all the things that went out, nobody mentioned me first. Until this afternoon, I believe nobody knew anything until the morning of. And that was a lie.
Yes.
And that is how people do not trust the government. How do we build relationship when we cannot trust the words of our leaders? I feel exactly what everybody back there is feeling because I felt like I was let down. I took that word to mean what it meant. So I came here shocked and shaking because that's not what I expected. I would have loved for somebody, MNPD director, even the mayor, in all the things that went out, to say, dispatch got something on me first. Right. MNPD did not know until that would have even made it better for me. Nobody said anything. Everybody acted as if no one knows anything. That is law enforcement. Right. So you cannot separate it for us. And we have been talking and pleading and begging. Yes. When this thing happens, lives are affected. People's lives are thrown into shambles. And I always felt personally, we cannot count on the federal government. We know the state government does not have our back. My hope has always been metro government. And that government is appointed me to go back to. We must do better. We have to be intentional. We cannot play with words. While we're trying to figure it out and plan and write letters, people's lives are being destroyed. That's my question now, but I have to say those first. Because people making noise in the back, being frustrated, it's real. I feel it. I can barely control myself. When is this gonna go on? This is a council. This is a metro that is progressive. This is a mayor that knows better. We should not be doing this. So, my question to the DEC director. Over the years, and I cannot remember those of us that served last time will be able to help me with this. I know we've had conversation about ICE before the state and the federal government brought so much to follow. When we talk about what is the protocol when somebody get a call about ICE, when something happened to a department, when ICE walk in the door, what are people supposed to do? And I could remember, everybody can clear that for me, where we said it has to be escalated to the next person. Do you guys not have that in your policy as to if ICE is mentioned, they should go to the next person?
I believe specifically the policy is if ICE reaches out, Immigration and Customs Enforcement reaches out to our department and backs us. And I know it's splitting hairs in this situation. It was the Federal Protective Services that covers the building facility. So the request we got was bring extra patrol for people you might call, that might escalate at that location on that day. Definitely has caught us as much by surprise as everybody else. So, okay, phone call about a request for an increased police presence. We have no concept. Scale.
Oh, please. Okay, please, I'm as frustrated as you, I'm shaking as I'm standing. But we're not gonna get anywhere if we don't have accountability. They have to answer the questions.
Yes.
And they will not answer if you all are, please, okay, please. Give them the time to answer the question, we're all mad. I know, and but please. I know, just please let them answer the question. Please let them answer the question. Thank you.
We had no concept of the scale of this response, where it would happen, any of those things. We knew that Sunday morning, there was the possibility, and you heard it in the call, and he said maybe nobody shows up. There's the possibility that somebody might show up frustrated at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning at that building. So that's what we went with. Certainly, hindsight being 2020, we are having a lot of conversations now with the mayor's office and with legal to determine what sort of notifications we can put in place. And we have made steps, notifications for certain locations, notifications on keywords, and we'll engage other conversations. But this, again, 21 years of doing this in Tennessee in emergency communications, I have never seen a situation like this.
Okay, so what we had was just about a call about your department, not if they just call in and mention ICE generally, but we're going to fix that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay, all right, Officer Gilden. I know that MNPD, according to what everybody is saying, did not know to 10 years, but there were 350 stops on our roads. There were cars all over the place. When MNPD is driving by, see so many stops, do officers not even wonder or inquire as to what's going on?
So it's not uncommon to see other jurisdictions engaging in law enforcement activities within Davidson County, THP included. And yes, sometimes when officers are available, they'll stop and check, just make sure an officer doesn't need backup. If there's anything going on, any kind of assistance, anything that relates to Metro. But again, this was my understanding is this was the overnight hours. They're very, the number of officers that work in the entire South Precinct, it's a large land area, are limited because there's less calls for service during that time period. So I don't know that an officer even drove past one of these traffic stops.
You had dozens of officers in the field on those streets that night. You cannot expect us to believe that none of them called in on dispatch unless they were instructed not to.
Okay,
I saw them with my own eyes, multiple officers were out that night.
I think what we're trying to get here is
Yes.
knowing what did not work or what we did not, what we ignored
Yes, don't worry.
is the right word. What do we do going forward? 350 stops is a lot. If citizens are noticing it, to the point that they're taking videos and taking pictures, otherwise, what is MNPD doing? If there's a lot of stops, if there's a bad person in our midst that we're supposed to be protected against, and that person is being handled by somebody else, I would think our officers should want to know. And I think if it's something that we've been ignoring for whatever reason, I think it would be good going forward if we start noticing what is going on in our streets. I'm also, I also want to know, and you know, this is a tough one for me, but power has to check power for things to work. When was the administration informed of the call to TC?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Why did your office deem that it was not important to inform the administration before yesterday?
forgive me, when you say administration, the administration.
The
of my-
mayor's office.
The administration of my department was aware of this call, that it happened on Thursday the first, rather than when it was created in that CAD Sunday the fourth yesterday. So when we became aware of it, the mayor's office, the broader administration also became aware of it. It was a routine call, like I said, she plugged it into the system to be processed on the day of their request, when the request was happening. It stayed with that dispatcher that afternoon when it was requested.
Not routine.
It's okay, we're looking at all of this. I'm sorry. What's your title, so I can look?
Deputy Chief.
Deputy Chief, I'm so sorry. Can you tell me, and if you don't have this information, you can send it to us. How many patrols, MNPD patrol did we have in the Nolensville, Nolensville area for the last 2 weekends? Proud to.
Yes,
Last,
that's the question.
I don't have that information with me, but I am happy to look that up.
please, because I would like to compare them to be able, because I can tell you that when we drove around last night, there was a lot of activity by everybody in that corridor. And so I think it would be good to find out 2 weeks ago before this call came in, and then last weekend, how did the numbers shift and why?
Yes.
And I would like to know why it shifted as well. My last question to Director Deeds. I started by saying that I was shocked I was betrayed. That trust is a thing. People don't trust government. That's why we have a lot of issues. The government could be doing everything right, but if the people don't think they represent them, it's a problem. I want our citizens to trust us. I want our citizens, when we say something, to believe that's what it is. If MNPD and our law enforcement is going to cooperate with ICE, that's fine. Just tell us. Then we'll figure it out. But if we're not, then we need to be proactive and intentional about it. So to you, Director Dayton, I don't know how you're going to answer this, but how can Metro live up to its promise of not separating families? What is it that you believe we can do, number one, to help the ones that are already affected? You already highlighted the letters and you're going to follow it, and I appreciate that. But we need to put some teeth to it in terms of the constitutionality of some of the actions. But then going forward, in front of all of us, how do we live up to our promise of, yes, we will protect our citizens? Thank you.
Councilmember, I believe you fully understand this. Immigration enforcement is one of the areas where the Constitution and federal law gives the federal government incredible powers. And it gives local governments no power. That's why Metro Police is not involved in immigration enforcement. It's done at the federal level. And so I wish I could say I have a remedy in my toolkit to fix this problem, other than to lobby and try to get the information about who was impacted. And so we are doing everything we can. So if anyone here has an idea for something they would.
It's not our job.
I would be very, very glad to hear it. I think everyone knows that I do not shy away from opposing this president. I have sued Donald Trump's administration twice in the last 6 weeks. But under the law, we have very little power. Other than to use power, influence, and leverage to try to get the government to do the right thing, because the federal government is clearly not doing the right thing.
Rescue the kidnapped. Thank you, Director Dietz. I'm gonna transition to, Chair Kretschke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to associate myself with the
comments made here before. Thank you to everybody in the public. Thank you to Remix for all the work that you all are doing. Just wanting to recognize that these sweeps are having a broader impact on our community than we know currently. I asked MNPS to pull the attendance records for our district wide right now. We're sitting at about 91% school attendance. For Glencliff High School, that is down to 86%. So we're seeing direct effects on that. My line of questioning, however, I want to focus specifically on two areas. First, Mayor O'Connell issued a